Well, we've flashed our board, and now it's go time. Go ahead and fire up processing, and we are going to learn how to write a little code for the Arduino, as well as how to wire the board. So let's talk about how a breadboard works. This is where we're going to make our LED connections with both wires and the LED itself and a resistor. Now, along the two sides, you're going to see these rails that are sandwiched in between a blue and a red line. And these lines are connected all the way down. So you can see that when I scroll over this one, you can see that the power will run horizontally all the way across, and same with this one. And these are what we're going to use as our power rails. We're going to run power into one, and we are going to run the ground out of it. And same thing with on this side, you can see. And likewise in the middle of the board there's all these connections, and these are also connected together, and it's in an orthogonal direction, or a 90-degree angle from the power rails. So these ones go up and down, or north-south. And you'll notice that when I hover over this, that the power stops at this break in the middle of the board, and then if I were to continue along, you can see that it picks up again. So it's important to know how these pinholes are connected on the breadboard. So one more time, the power rails run the length of the board on either side, and these connection pins in the middle run the opposite direction, and each column is connected. Alright, so I'm going to start with this red wire right here, and I am going to connect it into the Arduino into port 2 on the digital side. You can see there. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to connect it to one of these component rails right in the middle. Remember, the power is flowing down, up and down right now, and I'm going to bridge the gap in the center by putting that LED between them. I'm going to make sure that the longer of the two legs is facing the red wire. Then I'm going to bend a resistor like so, and I'm going to use that resistor to bridge this other gap and connect with the power rail on the side. And this is where the power is going to be flowing out of the breadboard. So I will take a white wire, which in electrical terms is often used for the neutral or ground wire, and I'm going to connect that, if I can get it in my hand there, I'm going to connect that into the ground port on the other side of the board right there. So ground, GND. So here's a schematic of what you just saw me wiring up. I took that red wire and I took it from port 2 into one of these component rails right here on the Arduino, and you can see in green that this is where the current is going to flow. It's going to flow up the longer leg of the LED into the actual mechanism up top and flow down the shorter leg. The current is going to continue along this rail right here where it hits the resistor, the 220 resistor. It's going to then flow into this power rail right here, which is going to return the power and ground it back to the board. And we put that white wire in the GND port, which stands for ground. So now let's write a little code and see if we can make it do a thing. So up top, I want you to hit the Sketch menu and go down to Import Library. There's two libraries that we have to import. The first one is going to be an Arduino, the Fermata library. So go ahead and hit that, and it's going to put two import tags up at the top of your code. But then we also need to import cereal, not the kind that you eat in the morning, or maybe for dinner, if that's your thing. But this is for the COM ports, to be able to listen and to send information along the communication port of the computer to the Arduino. So we're going to put both of those in there, and now we have these three imports up at the top. I'm going to set up my sketch like normal, void setup, and void draw, and now we can start putting some code in here. First thing is I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call it Arduino, and it is of a data type called Arduino. So we're going to say Arduino. my name for the board is the uncapitalized version, and the object is the larger of the two. And this is defined inside of this import that we did here. So processing is going to know what that is. It's an Arduino board. And then we need to set it up. We need to actually create that Arduino object inside of the setup. So we're going to say Arduino, that's our variable name, equals new Arduino. And there are a whole host of parameters that we're going to need to put in here. First, we're going to just type this and then comma. All right, don't worry too much about that. Then we are going to load in Arduino.list. We're going to call a list method with Arduino. And in brackets, we're going to put what COM port our Arduino is in. And I'm going to show you in a second how we find that. And last, we're going to put in the speed of the connection. So we're going to say 57,600 right there. And that is how we set up the Arduino board, and yours should be very similar to that. Now to find out what number to put in this bracket right here, we can do this. We're going to say print line, and we're going to say Arduino.list. And let's see what happens. Now, let's scroll up a little bit here. You can see down here that there is only one COM port that is being used, and that's COM4. So think of this like an array. If there were multiple COM ports being used, there would be a bunch of elements here, and they would be separated with commas. Well, we knew from our sketch earlier that our Arduino board was on COM4. So in an array, this is the 0 element right here in the array, so that's why I put 0 here. Now if there were a bunch of things listed and then comma COM4, then I'd have to count out 0, 1, 2, 3 and find out which in that list my Arduino board was, and then I would replace this number in here with what I counted out, starting at 0. Okay, now that I've used this and we've did a little debugging, we can get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. What we're going to do now is we're going to tell the Arduino board what that port, in this case we're using port 2, we're going to tell it whether it's an input port or an output port. So we're going to say Arduino, that's the name of our variable, dot pin mode is the method, and we're going to say pin mode port 2, and we're going to say that it's an output. And the way that we do that is we say Arduino capital A dot output, all in capital letters. And this is going to tell the board that we're going to be sending information out of port 2. That's it for the setup for a simple LED. So let's go down into our draw loop and let's write a little code. So what if I wanted to make my LED light up when I hit the mouse and go dark when I let go of the mouse? So we can use a simple conditional to do that. I could say something like if mouse pressed, and remember this is a Boolean statement, so it's either true or false. If the mouse is being pressed, it's true. If the mouse is not being pressed, it's false. So we're going to say if mouse pressed, do something, else do something else. So in this case, if the mouse is pressed, we want the light to light up. So we're going to reference that Arduino object again, the variable that we created up there. We're going to say Arduino dot, and the method that we're going to be using is called digital write. So digital write. And just like that pin mode, it needs to be in camel case. That means the first letter of the first word is lowercase and every subsequent word is uppercase. So digital write, again, we need to tell it what port, and then we need to tell it, since this is a digital port, it can only be high or low, 1 or 0, on or off. And so if we are pressing the mouse, we want it to be on. In other words, we want it to be sending it a high value. So we're going to say port 2, and I'm going to again use that capital A Arduino, Arduino dot high. All right. And likewise, I'm just going to copy this, copy paste magic here, and rather than setting it to high when the mouse is not pressed, I'm just going to change that to low. Now, let's see what happens. Let's run a little code and see if this works. When I run the code, it's just going to be a simple little box that pops up because we didn't do anything special with the screen. And give it a few seconds to start its communication, and then you should be able to hit your mouse button inside of this box right here and the light will turn on and off. Well, looky here. I press the mouse, it turns on, I let go, it turns off. I would say that's pretty successful. So I hope you learned a thing or two about wiring an LED, about writing some code and processing to make it work. And next time, we're going to be taking a look at how to wire 8 LED lights in parallel and being able to enter in a number value and converting that number into binary by making the LEDs light up as ones or zeros, ons or offs. So until next time, y'all, this has been Eric Dillerman, your course coordinator, signing out. Hasta la vista.